All right. Well, again, thanks for coming. Here's the. I'm just going to show the slides like this. We're going to talk about the Proportion Fit diet. Obviously, hopefully, you've had a chance to read the book, and really, this should be a concept for weight loss, for weight maintenance, and really how you can succeed at both. Not just about losing weight, but maintaining a healthy weight once you get there. It's really a concept very similar to Weight Watchers and things like that, but it's very self-directed, and it's very simple. So you'll be able to do it without anything further. So what are we going to learn? We're going to talk about why weight control is important. We're going to talk about why other methods tend to fall short, how you can manage your intake by cutting your cups and not bothering with the calories, and then how to apply this knowledge to your individual situation. So why do we worry about the weight? A lot of this is fairly obvious, but it's worth reviewing. Obviously, for improved health, it's very important on our bones and joints. Every pound of weight that we carry can put an extra 5 pounds across your knees, and so it can cause your knees to wear out a little bit prematurely. And by losing weight, we can save our joints, our knees, and our hips, and our ankles especially. From a cardiovascular standpoint, it takes greater work for your heart to pump blood through a larger frame, and so the more blood vessels, arteries, and veins that the blood has to go through, the harder work it is for your heart and for your vessels to constrict and to pump that blood through. So the bigger our frame, the more work it is for our cardiovascular system. As we gain weight, we're more at risk of diabetes. As there's increased fat, it's harder for our bodies to regulate insulin. And so, unfortunately, as we gain weight, we're more at risk of developing diabetes and other things like sleep apnea. With sleep apnea, you're at increased risk. It causes poor sleep pattern, which tends to cause lethargy, which tends to decrease your exercise, which leads then to weight gain. So it becomes this vicious cycle. So it's really important, again, to have a good sleep pattern and to hopefully be at an appropriate weight. The self-esteem part of it, obviously the improved self-image and really the increased energy. Someone who feels tired at 400 pounds to go a half a block, that may be felt as someone who's being lazy or someone who is unfit. Well, the reality is if someone has a 400-pound frame, it takes them twice as much energy as someone with a 200-pound frame to move that same half of a block. And so it's more a matter of it just is more energy expenditure for that person with a larger frame to move. And so as you lose weight, you have more perceived energy because now, again, if you go from 400 pounds down to 200 pounds, it takes you half as much energy to move that same half block that it used to take at a 400-pound frame. So really, it pays dividends in your energy level. There are other things like financial savings. Again, if you're 400 pounds and you're consuming essentially what amounts to 20 cups per day, and you bring your weight down to 200 pounds and you're consuming now only 10 cups per day, you're going to save on food by 1/2. You're going to save 50% of your food budget. You're going to save on other resources too. The more we weigh, the more likely we are to wear out our shoes. The more likely we are to spend more money on gas to move our bodies around because, again, we weigh more. There are little subtle things that occur throughout the day that increased weight is really sabotaging us financially as well. So it's really important to lose weight for those reasons as well. If we look at the BMI chart, the BMI chart is by no means a perfect measure of appropriate height and weight, but it's a very simple measure, and therefore it is useful. The thing that the BMI chart doesn't do is it doesn't take into account your sort of level of fitness, your body fat ratio, the amount of lean muscle you have versus fat. And so if you're a star NFL running back who's 5 feet 10 inches tall and you weigh 209 pounds right here, so 70 inches at 5'10", 209 pounds, that person's BMI is 30. They're going to be considered obese. So a 5'10", very muscular, 209-pound NFL running back may be considered obese. But that same 5'10", 209-pound person who is sedentary, sits on the couch, and is not an NFL running back also can have that same BMI of 30. So again, BMI is not a perfect measure of health, but it gives you a general rule of thumb to go by to figure out where you should be on the BMI chart. Ideally, most people should be in the overweight to normal category, and so the goal is to, again, bump yourself down as close to normal as possible. For a lot of people, it's hard to get to that normal category. I can speak from personal experience. My BMI is right here. I'm at about a 27. I weigh about 200 pounds at 6 feet tall, and so my BMI is still considered overweight. I haven't been 177 pounds since I was probably in about 10th grade. So, but again, you have to figure out what really works best for you and what is an appropriate weight for your frame. So why do other diets fail, and why do I think this is different, and why has it been shown to be different? It's really because of three critical elements. Any ideal diet needs to be simple or reproducible, it needs to be effective, and it needs to be ideally inexpensive. Things like Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, personal trainers, Seattle Sutton, MetaFast, all those things are really great. They can be effective, they can be simple, but they really get to be expensive over time. They can be good in the short term, but not as good in the long term. Being told just to eat less or watch your portions, things like that can be very effective, but it's not really reproducible. It's a very simple concept, but there's nothing reproducible but just being told to eat less. There's no way to quantify that unless, again, you're using a cup measure. Other things like supplements, HCG, diet pills, they can be potentially effective, but they're really messing with your metabolism, and they can be very expensive and probably not very healthy. And they also focus really on the short term and not the long term. And so for the most part, I'd avoid any of those supplements or fads that are out there for that reason. So why this ProportionFit diet concept is unique is it is very simple and reproducible. It is self-directed. You really are just relying on yourself. You're not relying on anyone else to package your meals for you. You're just measuring and taking in the appropriate quantity. It's effective because we know that calories taken in and weight are fairly linear, and we also know that calories and cups essentially are fairly linear as described in the book. And so if we cut the calories or cut the cups, we're going to cut the weight. We also know that this is very inexpensive. Really, the expense is just in buying the book and reading the book. And then what happens is really in the first month, if you follow the diet and you're trying to lose, say, 2 pounds a week, you're going to actually save on your food budget the same amount you've probably spent on the book. And so it really becomes a net positive within a month as far as the expense goes. Unlike, again, meal plans that you're shelling out hundreds of dollars. My initial ProportionFit trial that we did before the book was published was just with 18 participants, each with a goal of losing at least 20 pounds. I just found 18 willing participants that wanted to lose at least 20 pounds. Their weight varied anywhere from about 130 up to about 260 pounds, and we just did a 2-month collection period. It was 2/3 females, 1/3 male. The average weight loss over the 2-month trial period was 13.5 pounds approximately. And for those that followed the plan closely, they lost over 15 pounds in that 2-month trial period. And for those that followed it fairly loosely, only lost about 10 pounds. But everyone lost weight. It's just that they lost a little less weight if they didn't follow it closely. I've done 3 other similar trials, and they've all been very much the same. Our second trial showed an average of about 12 pounds lost after 7 weeks. So we just we didn't track a full 2 months, but we had 12 pounds. We have individuals with 75 plus pounds lost in less than 10 months. Other individuals with over 50 pounds lost. And I just got off a call or another web meeting with a different group, and they're already at week 5, averaging 10 pounds per person of weight loss at week 5, which is again right on track. We're trying to lose about 2 pounds per week. So they're doing really quite well. So the recent results of our pre-ProportionFit survey, we're going to go over that survey. Hopefully you had a chance to fill it out, and we'll talk about that. So we've had a total of 4 groups that have we've tracked so far, most for about 2 months because it's difficult to keep collecting data from volunteers, and the results are very consistent. They show about the 2-pound weight loss per week. Some do better, some do worse. So those are average results. Some people will find that after again, after 5 weeks of this group I'm working with right now, some people are losing 15 pounds and some people are only losing 6 or 7 pounds. But again, when you average it all out, it ends up being about 2 pounds per week. The current group I'm working with was started in November. We're going to track for a full year, and hopefully we'll get some longer-term results. And as I mentioned, we have people with 75, 50, and more pounds of weight loss with the diet just being out for about a year now. So again, this whole concept of counting cups versus calories is based on the fact that people burn about anywhere from 13 to 15 calories per pound per day. And so again, if you're fairly sedentary, that average may be a little lower. If you're fairly active, it may be higher. But on average, if we use 14 calories per pound per day, you can figure out how many calories you're going to expend in an average day. Obviously, if your food intake outpaces your expenditure, you're going to gain weight. If your intake is less than your expenditure, you're going to lose weight. So again, very simple concept. It takes about 3,500 calories to lose a pound of fat. So a 3,500 calorie deficit is going to be required to lose 1 pound of weight. The problem with counting calories is it's a very inexact science. You have to figure out a volume of food first, then you have to figure out how many calories are in that cup or whatever volume it is you've measured. You have to do the multiplication and track all these different factors, again, the volume, the calorie count, etc. It's much easier just to count the cups instead and use that cup count because the calorie counting is an inexact science. The cup counting is also, in some ways, an inexact science. But again, why make it more complicated than it needs to be? The cup counting really works very well. As we have shown in the book, and I'm sorry this slide's a little bit fuzzy, if you look at cups of meat products, the calorie counts are going to tend to be a little higher than our average. If you look at things like bratwurst at 450 calories per cup, they're going to be pretty high. When you look at more lean meats, like things like crab at only 120 calories per cup, those things are more are less calories per cup, so they're better for you from a calorie standpoint. But again, you don't want to focus so much on that. You just want to take in the cups and have a good balance. So you're not constantly eating bratwurst. You're mixing it with some different food items. The other thing is when you look at vegetables, a great example here is the fact that celery, spinach, those are going to be incredibly low calorie counts. Things like potatoes, however, are a relatively higher calorie count at 240 calories per cup. Then if you look at French fries, you take those same potatoes and you put them in a deep fryer and turn them into French fries, you've just doubled their calorie count just by the mere fact that that potato now has absorbed oil. And again, per cup, it's doubled its calorie count. So it's important to focus on, again, a good balance of food intakes. It doesn't matter that you're taking in some French fries on occasion, but also balance that with a little spinach. So again, the average calorie count is appropriate. So what does it all mean? It really means that you need to have just a simple balanced diet. You're trying to balance your fruits, your vegetables, your meats, your grains, and have a little dessert. You're not restricting yourself. You're not denying yourself anything. Go ahead and just have a good balanced diet and mix those things up. Each cup is going to have, on average, about 270 calories per cup. Or, again, to put it simply, it's about 1 cup for every 20 pounds of your body weight. So whether you know it or not, that's approximately how many cups per day you're eating. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you're probably taking in about 10 cups per day on average of food. And again, that's assuming a balanced diet. So if you use this simple chart, and if you can find your weight on the left-hand side, it's very simple to figure out your daily food volume in cups right here on the right-hand side. So again, it's a very simple equation. This isn't exactly the 1 cup for every 20 pounds because we're basing this on the 270 calories per cup. But again, it extrapolates pretty simply based on whatever weight you are. If you do weigh, say 400 pounds, you can just divide that 400 by 20 and you'll get 20 cups. So that's a pretty good average to go with. So based on this, you should be able to figure out what your daily food volume is for the weight that you're at right now. So again, if you weigh 270 pounds, your daily cup intake is about 14 cups. If you want to lose weight, you're going to have to subtract a certain number of cups from that in order to lose weight. Any questions so far while I'm rambling on?
No.
All right. Oh, go ahead. All right, well, I'll keep rambling. All right, so what does this all mean? It means that a simple 8-ounce cup or a 1 cup portion daily will make you 20 pounds heavier. So if you take in 2 cups more than you intend, you're going to be 40 pounds heavier. If you take in 3 cups more than you intend, you're going to be 60 pounds heavier. So again, using myself as an example, I weigh about 200 pounds. I take in about 10 cups per day. If I don't pay attention and I take in 11 cups per day, eventually my weight is going to go up by 20 pounds and I'm going to be 220 pounds before I know it. And then what happens is when I'm 220 pounds, if I take in now 1 more cup than I should and I'm taking in 12 cups, my weight's going to creep up to 240 pounds. And that's exactly what happens for most people as they gain weight, is they're just eating just a small portion more than they should per day, and slowly their weight creeps up and up and up. And it's a very tiny, insidious amount because 1 cup, again, over the course of a day means that you're only taking in 1/3 of a cup maybe per meal. So at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, if you're taking in 1/3 of a cup more in volume than you should be, it's going to cause your weight to slowly escalate. And so that's why we all tend to gain weight over time. And the thing is, our body has sort of a thermostat. It says feed me when it needs, it doesn't feel like it's getting enough calories. And so your body needs and wants, and it signals to your mind that it needs calories to sustain itself. And so again, if I weigh 200 pounds, my body, my mind, my system is going to signal for me to take in enough calories to sustain that 200 pounds. Otherwise, I'm going to feel hungry. And the problem is, once I'm done feeling hungry, if I eat, again, just that little bit more, my weight is going to slowly creep up. So using that same concept, using that knowledge of a cup being equal to about 20 pounds, let's use that knowledge in reverse, and now we can use it to shed the pounds instead. So instead of it being a bad thing, we're going to turn it into a good thing as a way to lose weight. And so you may have seen this picture before, but this is just a simple demonstration that I've done to look at the whole concept of cup counting. When you take an 8-ounce cup and you take an apple, that's about equal to an 8-ounce cup. So 1 apple is equal to a cup. If you take an 8-ounce cup filled with rice and you dump it out and you make a little, what's a cylinder, I guess, of rice, that's easy to picture that as a cup. If you take that same cup of rice now and you flatten it out to resemble the piece of pizza, you can understand that a slice of pizza, sort of an average slice of pizza, is going to be equal to about a cup. You can use a 12-ounce can, lay it alongside a little 4.5-inch sub sandwich, and understand that 4.5-inch sub sandwich is equal to about a cup and a half. So 12 ounces being a cup and a half, that sub sandwich is equal to about a cup and a half. So it's a very simple way to think about your dietary intake. So again, if this was a meal right here, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 cups of intake for this one meal if this was one meal. The Diet Mountain Dew in this case doesn't count because it's a calorie-free beverage. So again, you don't want to take in a ton of Diet Mountain Dew. That's not necessarily good for you, but it's a calorie-free beverage that you are allowed to drink without counting those calories. So again, if using myself as an example, as a 200-pound person, if I took all this in as one meal, that would be over half of my calorie intake for the day, right there. And so again, how do you apply this knowledge to yourself? If you know that just that additional cup daily will make you 20 pounds heavier over time, let's use that formula in reverse to shed the pounds. So again, determine the cups necessary for your weight based on that chart we showed you earlier, or just take your weight and divide by 20 to give you the approximate number of cups of food per day. And if you're trying to lose weight, you just subtract anywhere from 1, 2, 3, or 4 cups per day, and you're going to lose weight. In my opinion, one of the most effective ways to do it is a 4-cup deficit, because then you can lose 2 pounds per week. And it's a very tangible, it's a measurable amount of weight loss that you see per week. And so it's something that you see some results, it motivates you to keep at it. You can do lesser amounts, a 2-cup deficit to lose 1 pound per week. Again, it really depends on what your starting weight is and sort of how aggressive you want to be. Keep in mind that you never want to go below 4 cups per day. So if you only weigh 160 pounds and you're only taking in approximately 8 cups per day to start with, you can subtract 4 cups and be down to the 4 cups of intake per day for that 4-cup deficit. But again, if you weigh under 160 pounds, you don't want to be subtracting 4 cups or more because you're going to dip below that 4 cups per day amount. The reason we use 4 cups per day, again, is a volume thing to make sure you're getting adequate volume into your system, and it's a calorie thing. By taking in 4 cups per day, you're going to take in approximately 1,000 calories at a minimum, and that's necessary just to sustain yourself on a day-to-day basis. So if we look at this very busy chart that's in the book, if we look at this example of Pat Johnson, who starts at a weight of 300 pounds, she has a height of 60 inches or 5 feet. She wants to get down, or she or he wants to get down to a goal weight of 125 pounds, which is down to a normal BMI. So obviously that's a very lofty goal, but it is certainly possible. And you can see if you look at the top right corner, Pat at 300 pounds is taking in approximately 15.5 cups per day. Whereas if Pat wants to be 125 pounds, that Pat is only going to be consuming about 6.5 cups per day. So again, the deficit is very significant to start with. And so if Pat starts out eating only 6.5 cups per day right away, there's this huge deficit between the actual cups to maintain that weight, 15.5 in this start versus 6.5. That's a 9-cup deficit. So if we remember that earlier we talked about 3,500 calories being equal to a pound of fat, or a pound for weight loss. I'm going to throw a lot of math at you here, but if you take that 3,500 calorie deficit and you divide that by the 270 calories per cup, that's equal to about 13 cups. So another way to think about it is a 13-cup deficit is going to allow you to lose weight, or I'm sorry, lose 1 pound of weight. So a 13-cup deficit is going to allow you to lose 1 pound of weight. So Pat, in this example, again, has a 9-cup deficit to start with. And so Pat's going to lose about 2/3 of a pound to 3/4 of a pound every day to start with, because there's such a huge deficit here. And then as time goes on, as this deficit changes between the actual cups consumed down here and the cups necessary to maintain the weight, the deficit becomes less and less. And so the slope of this line starts to flatten out a little bit until here Pat's down to just a 4-cup deficit. So there's a 4-cup differential between the cups necessary to maintain the current weight versus the actual cups consumed. And now Pat goes to a consistent 4-cup deficit. So as the weight goes down, the cups go down. And then now right here, Pat makes an error and goes below the 4-cup deficit. 4 cups consumed. So Pat goes below 4 cups daily, which again, I would not recommend. You want Pat to stay at or above the 4-cup per day number. But again, you see a nice linear weight loss until finally Pat reaches her goal weight and then goes up to maintaining 6.5 cups per day to maintain this weight at 125 pounds. So again, you can see that can be achieved over the course of just over a year's time. At about the 65-week mark, Pat goes from 300 pounds down to 125 pounds. So it's a pretty aggressive weight loss, but it certainly can be done. So again, hopefully through this, you understand again through the book and through just this quick little presentation here, why weight control is very important. Really there are multiple medical problems that go along with being overweight. There are financial benefits to getting your weight down to an appropriate level, and there are self-esteem benefits to getting your weight down to an appropriate level. Other methods tend to fall short because they lack either the simplicity, the effectiveness, or they're just too darn expensive to maintain for a lifetime. And so again, this is meant to be a very simple, effective, and inexpensive tool to lose weight initially and then to maintain a healthy weight when all is said and done. And again, you can manage your intake by counting cups rather than calories by just, again, remember that 1 cup of food is equal to about 270 calories on average, assuming that, again, you have a good balance of fruits, vegetables, meat, potatoes, desserts in your intake. Approximately 1/3 of your calories should come from fruits and vegetables, so about 1/3 of your cups, should come from fruits and vegetables. So if you're taking in 9 cups per day, ideally 3 of those are going to be fruits and vegetables. And then hopefully you can apply this knowledge to your situation. Just again, take your weight, divide by 20, or figure out how many cups you need, and then for every cup deficit you give yourself, you're going to lose about 1/2 pound per week. So again, it's a very simple concept that hopefully everyone understands. Just going back real quick, you guys, a lot of you did this survey here, and I just want to show you the results. So this pre-ProportionFit survey, we've had 34 people fill this out so far. Why are you following the ProportionFit diet? Or why are you trying to lose weight? You're trying to do it for improved health, improved appearance, improved activity tolerance, to be able to do more. Some people it's for improved sleep. What things have you tried in the past? Most people have tried things like exercise programs, meal systems like Jenny Craig, MetaFast, Weight Watchers. A lot of people have tried things like the Zone or sort of South Beach diet type of programs. Some people have cut out breads and grains, and brains too probably. But it was interesting. Right before this meeting, I was watching I think it was a Papa John's commercial, and they were talking about eating healthy and ordering a thin crust pizza. Again, the only reason a thin crust pizza is any more healthy or has fewer calories than a regular crust pizza is because it's just less volume of food. And so again, that thin crust doesn't make the pizza any healthier or any better or any worse. It just makes it a smaller volume of food. So every slice of pizza now is just a little bit smaller. And so again, that it just goes to the fact that we're constantly bombarded with this marketing that tries to shroud or hide the fact that our calorie intake is mostly based on just the volume of food that we're eating. If you ever go to a fast food restaurant, when people were cutting out breads so often, you could order a sandwich without the bread, and they call that their lean or their high protein example. Again, all you're doing is you're decreasing the volume of food that you're eating. Most people aren't truly gluten intolerant, and so it's not that critical to take out the breads and grains. Biggest challenges to losing weight, again, it's all across the board. It's the cost. It's the difficult to follow. They're good for the short term, but bad or poor for the long term. I didn't find any exercise or any program that was good for the long term but bad in the short term. Nobody said that. That self-motivation, the fact that you have to stick with it, that's tough for over 80% of people. Other things just are not effective in the past. People are hungry. There's temptation all around them, and there's lack of support from people around them. And so, again, all those things are very common problems that we run into. And just about everyone trying to lose weight runs into those. People completing the survey, about 3/4 female, 1/4 male. And from a weight standpoint, these are just free text. People put in their weight anywhere from 300 and some pounds to down to 140 pounds. So a wide variety of people that want to lose weight for a variety of different reasons. So on that note, usually there are a fair amount of questions or comments. Does anyone have any questions or comments for me? Again, you can type them in if you don't have a microphone. And I'm also happy to help anyone. If everyone has any questions, they want to email me at any point or even call me. My phone number as well as my email address has been sent out to you. If it hasn't, I'll make sure it goes out.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Nick, this is Karen. Yeah. Are we keeping our own weight and then recording and turning it in, or is it just follow week by week and whatever?
It's up to you. I'll send an email, and if you want to give me your weight to help me, I'll help you keep you accountable, and so you have someone to report to. I'm happy to do that. Certainly, it's up to everyone.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute you for a second. It's up to everyone, just as they see fit. If they want to post their weights to me, that's great. We'll keep it blinded. I'm not sharing this information with anyone else. So again, I'll try to help you along the way. Michelle, you asked if it's okay to slowly. Sorry, I'm going to mute everyone again because I'm getting that feedback. Is it okay to slowly decrease your cups rather than dropping the whole 4 cups per day? I mean, absolutely. If you're, again, just say for example, say you're 240 pounds and your average right now is 12 cups per day, and you don't want to make a drastic change, you certainly can go to 11 cups, 10 cups, whatever you feel most comfortable with. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. You want to just set yourself up to succeed. One of the really important points, and I think this resonates with a lot of people, and I didn't really touch on it in my little talk here, is the fact that hunger is seen as a bad thing for a lot of people. You don't want to bask in hunger all the time. You don't want to be hungry all the time. But at the same time, hunger is just a signal that your body is giving you that you haven't taken in enough calories for whatever weight you are currently. And so hunger is just, again, your signal to take in more calories. Well, if we're trying to lose weight, it's virtually impossible not to have some hunger. And so it's okay to be a little bit hungry. But again, you don't want to be starving. You don't want to be focused on food 24/7 because you're trying to drop, again, a ton of weight right away. But you should expect to be hungry, and essentially that's a positive feedback loop, that if you feel a little bit of hunger, that means you are restricting the appropriate amount to, again, lose weight. And it's okay to be hungry on occasion is really the bottom line. Any other questions here? I unmuted everyone. Sorry about that.
Nope.
Quiet group.
It's cold out there.
That's true.
It's nice not to have to come out, I have to tell you that.
Right. I figure this, this format's a lot easier for people. Sorry. Karen, I'm not sure if that's you, but I think your microphone, your speakers might be a little too close to each other. We're getting that feedback. But anyways, it's nice, we were doing these meetings in person, and it's nice not to have to travel somewhere, especially with the roads being snowy and icy. So hopefully this concept works a little bit better.
Nick, I have a question.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, ideally, I need to lose almost half of my current body weight.
Okay.
And what would you recommend? Would you go with like a 4-cup deficit to start, or would you just jump all the way down to your ideal number of cups?
I mean, I think that example I showed, obviously it's a very aggressive example.
Right.
I think, as a general rule, again, anywhere from about 2 to 4 pounds per week is a good amount to lose. I think you want to be able to lose enough to measure it and see the results, but you don't want to lose so much that you're just, again, famished. You don't want this to be a starvation diet. You want this to just sort of train your stomach to be used to a smaller volume of food so that, again, you can slowly lose weight. I would recommend, probably if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, I would probably shoot for about a 6-cup deficit, so you're going to lose approximately 3 pounds per week. I think that's a good number to shoot for. As a general rule, you probably, sorry, I'm forgetting now the number, but I don't think you want to lose more than about 2% of your body weight per week is probably a number to think about too. So again, if I weigh 200 pounds, I don't want to lose more than 4 pounds, which is 2%. I don't want to lose more than 4 pounds per week. If you weigh 400 pounds, you don't want to lose more than 8 pounds per week. So again, if you use 2% as a number, you probably don't want to lose more than 2% of your body weight every week, just to, again, not overly shock your system. So, but then the key is, the really important thing to remember though is as you lose weight, as your weight drops by 10 pounds, that means that you need to drop your cup intake by another half a cup. As your weight drops by 20 pounds, that means you have to drop your intake by another full cup from where you started to always maintain that 6-cup deficit.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You bet. Let's see here. I'm just reading the chat here. Yeah, it is a scary thought to drop them all at once. Some people, are fine with the 4 cups per day, and others, it's better to just start with maybe 2 cups a day. Okay, and then somebody, sorry, I'm not sure whose question it is, but cheering Sherry on and telling her that she has to count her wine. So talking about beverages, and milk is a common downfall. Again, milk, we've all been trained to say that, Stacia, oh, hi, Stacia, thank you. So milk is we've all been trained to think that milk, especially skim milk, is a pretty healthy beverage. And quite honestly, it is. It's fairly low calorie. However, I think you have to really train yourself to understand that anything that contains a calorie, anything that goes in your mouth that contains a calorie needs to be measured. And so, again, it's a very simplistic approach, and I understand that if you want to be very technical, the simplistic cup counting approach is not absolutely perfect. However, if we try to keep it simple, if you just measure a cup of milk, it's a cup of your intake, and that's it. I don't care if it's skim, I don't care if it's whole milk, just count it as a cup, because what happens is, number one, you're going to pay attention to what you put in your mouth, and you're going to be careful about drinking calories, you're going to be careful about eating calories, you're going to make better food choices, you're going to make better beverage choices. And so, again, it's okay to drink milk. By all means, go ahead and drink milk, but you do just need to count those cups, and that's it, bottom line. Same thing with wine, same thing with alcoholic beverages. Anything, again, that contains a calorie, and that's going to be your alcoholic beverages, your milk, your pop or soda that has sugar in it, things that don't have calories, water, tea, coffee, diet beverages. Those are all free beverages, things that you don't have to count. So again, it's a very simplistic approach, and I understand that a cup of skim milk only is about 90 calories, so it's a tiny number of calories. But again, we're trying to be very pure and just use the cup concept, because as soon as you start cheating and as soon as you start saying, well, that cup only has 90 calories in it, well, you're ignoring the fact that your cup of cheesecake or your cup of hamburger or your cup of pizza that you're eating has 400 calories in it. And so again, it's all about that balance. And when it all averages out at the end of the day, that's what we're really counting on. So the key is to have a balance. Go ahead and drink your milk. Milk itself is not going to put weight on you. It's just a matter of too much milk or too much milk along with other beverages or food items. Any other questions or chat comments? Well, I think the key is, and again, I'll get into this later, a couple other things just for food for thought, and we'll talk about this in the future, is number one, I think exercise. Exercise is very important. It's good for overall fitness, and it's a great thing. However, a nutritionist I work with talked to me about a study that she did looking at exercise and taking two groups. One group that did an exercise program and just did it sort of on their own. Another group that did the exact same exercise program, but they were really encouraged and told what a great job they did with their exercise program. And what happened is that group that was encouraged and told what a great job they did with their exercise program tended to eat about 15 to 16% more than the other group that did it sort of in silence. And the reason is, again, mentally, if we exercise, we usually think to ourselves, hey, I've burned off extra calories, I can take in a little bit more. Or I've burned off extra calories, I'm going to reward myself. And so those people that were encouraged and told what a good job they did tended to eat a little bit more subconsciously. So again, it's very important to exercise, but it's also important to understand that exercise doesn't give you an excuse then to take in more. It's a great way to sort of turbo boost your weight loss if that's what you're shooting for. So again, keep that in mind. And the other thing along those lines is, ideally think about setting some sort of an activity goal for yourself. Depending on your activity level that you have right now, try to push yourself to achieve something that you haven't done before. And again, whether it's just walking a mile or running a 5K or running a half marathon or, swimming, whatever that is, pick some sort of a activity goal for yourself that you can do in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Set yourself up for success so that you have an activity goal to shoot for, so it keeps you accountable to yourself to try and achieve that goal. All right, Kathy, thanks for the note. Good. Well, hopefully people are motivated. Oh, and I wrote in the email, it's nice, again, to have this group sort of bond a little bit and be able to share secrets that they come up with. If you don't mind, I would like to, send emails that just has everyone's email address out in the CC column, so that they can you can just respond or reply all, and everyone can see your responses. I think that's helpful just as a sense of community and to lose weight together. So I'm going to do that. If anyone objects to that or doesn't want their email shared, please just contact me, send me an email telling me that. Otherwise, I am going to make those public, so that, or not public, just within this group public, so that we can, again, develop that sense of community so people can lose weight together. And then I'll send an email tonight. If you want to report to me your weight currently, what your morning weight was today as your starting weight, I can help you track it and help you sort of stay accountable for it and help you make adjustments along the way. Any other questions or commentary? All right, I guess if there's nothing else, we'll end early, and everyone can stay nice and warm, hopefully, and make it through this week. We're past the holidays, so we're in a better frame of mind, hopefully, to lose the weight and succeed here. So if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Feel free to email me or call me, and look forward to meeting next week as well.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.